Hi girls, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This was a practice round I recorded on TikTok and Instagram, so if you want to give that a look, I'll have that link down below, but we're going to get started fresh. Here I have these clear tips and I have them linked in my Amazon storefront. I don't use the brown ones anymore because I've had such a hard time gluing them down, and then when I did glue them down, they always popped off when I started filing, so I needed to do something. I did the same method, but it seemed like it wasn't working, so I tried out these tips and it works perfect every time. So here I'm just taking my sanding band, make sure you get a brand new one, and I'm going over all of the nail tips, make sure there is no shine. If you just went and glued the tip straight down to like no etched surface, it might not stay. It also will help if you etch the back of the nail tip, the well of the nail tip. I didn't have to do so here, but I think that's some extra help. Now I'm going to apply a line. I'm basically going to fill the well with glue, not where it's like running. I'm going to fill it with glue, and then I'm going to press my nail tip firmly down and hold it for about 10 seconds. Here, I kind of lifted up just a little bit, but I quickly pushed it back down because that can cause it to not stay. And I held it for a good 10-15 seconds, and boom, it stays every time. So I add just a little more glue so that dries while I'm going ahead and working on the other ones. And I'm telling y'all, this is a game changer. This was the very reason why I never liked to come and sit down with my practice hand, because it was so frustrating just even getting the tip on. I couldn't even make it past that stage. So if I didn't have my nails done, I would practice on my nails. And if I have my nails done now, then, I don't have anything to practice on. So I'm glad I found this way, and hopefully this helps you too, so you can sit down and practice with me, girl. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, intermediate. It's always important to sit down and practice because there's always room for growth. And the more you practice, the more effortless it's going to become, the more easy it's going to be. It's going to be like routine. It's not like you're going to have to figure it out along the way, because you can put in the practice, you put in the work. Now let's do it. I'm going to hit these two with some more glue and moving on to cutting the length. Today I'm going to go with long, towards extra long. I want enough space to show you all how to really do these 3D acrylic flowers. I'm going to go in my Beauty Secrets 100 and 180 grit file that I got from Sally's. Now I'm going to shade the entire tip just so I can see. When I cut the sides, I start from the bottom and go work my way up, making sure it matches up with the size of where the natural nail would be, because this is how we're going to get that slim coffin shape. These are pre-shaped coffin tips, but you still want it more slim. You don't want to just glue the tip on and let it be that, or they won't, they just won't give. It doesn't have to go straight down because these aren't taper square. These are coffin tips, so it's kind of going to slim in and go in a little bit, so you're kind of going to have to file at an angle rather than straight down. Now I'm going to begin with a light file on these tips. I'm going to hold my trainer hand, give it some extra sturdiness, hold it on the sides, and start filing. And you don't have to do much filing at all, because these tips we really did a lot of the work with the scissors. So that's the point of the scissors. So now we're really just crisping up the shape and making it even. So now I'm going to use my Tidy Knees acrylics, and I have that link down below. I have my brush sitting in my monomer, and I'm going to pat it all the way down on the bottom and just glide it on the side just a tad, because we're going to use a large bead. I don't want to drain the brush completely of monomer. I still want a good bit. I'm going to do 3 taps to get a large bead. And with this brand of acrylic, you do have to drain the bead of excess monomer just like so, and that's how it's going to get that perfect consistency. I'm now going to place my bead right in the center of the nail, and this entire bead is going to cover the whole half of this nail, and I'm going to do one more bead to cover the other half. And I'm not going to add apex or anything, because this is just practice. But look how I dropped that bead and I was still able to just pick it up and play with it, because don't play with this brand of acrylic, okay? If you don't drain her acrylic, it's a different story. But once you drain it, I don't know. It's magic. It's very buttery. It's very easy to work with. Kind of do have to work a little quick because I do find it dries kind of quickly. It's like pro acrylic. It's really good and I recommend. I have that website linked down below for you. I'm not going to get too detailed with the acrylic application because I do want to spend majority of the time discussing the 3D acrylic flowers. So I'm going to very quickly just apply the acrylic to these 3 nails. And I didn't want to skip completely because I do find it kind of satisfying. But I have this custom glitter mix that I made and I'm putting it on this nail. And I did end cap this just a little bit because it can get a little bumpy and uneven due to the chunky glitter. It has big specks of glitter in there, so that's why I end capped this nail and not the other ones. Let's go ahead and move on to the 3D flowers. I'm using my Mia Secret White 3D acrylic and a size 4 acrylic brush, and this will be linked on my Amazon storefront, so don't worry, you don't have to go looking for it. Now I'm going to take my Zule Bling adhesive and apply a decent amount to where I'm going to put my gold rhinestone. I chose a diamond shape because I thought it was really cute and unique. Now the technique to getting a perfect bead every time is dipping it in your monomer and using the tip of your brush to dip it in and getting a small bead. I then place that bead down. Now if it's too dry or too wet, go ahead and take it off and start over. There's nothing wrong with starting over, but as you can see, once I place it down, I like to drag it upwards a little bit to make the tip point. Here I am then swiping just the tip to make it a little more pointier, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now you kind of have to work somewhat quickly because this 3D acrylic does dry fast, so once you get the hang of it, you'll learn to move more swiftly. I'm now going to take the side of my brush and dent it right in the middle. Now you want to make sure you use a light hand. You see how I'm literally just tapping it in the middle, just trying to make a dent, and then I'm swiping the sides to make that point. You're really just manipulating the acrylic into a petal shape. I'm now going to pick up the beads for my side petals, so same movement. I'm dipping the very tip in. Now pay attention to the size of the beads. The beads I am picking up for the side petals aren't going to be as large as the ones I did at the top. So make note of that, and this is really satisfying. Once you get the gist of it, it's going to become so fun. So here when I place this bead, see how I kind of dragged it up a little bit just to make it a little bit longer instead of just plopping the bead down. And then I'm going to go in with the very tip of my brush. I'm just going in right there at the tip where the point of the petal is. And I just push down gently. I'm not pushing all the way down because then you're going to make your bead flat. You're really just putting a dent in it. That's really what you're doing. You're putting a dent in the middle of the bead. So once I go ahead and push it in, you see how the tip of the petal kind of flares out a little bit. This is when I'm going to take my side and push it in a little bit and make it pointy a little. Remember, we want progress over perfection because it's very easy to keep manipulating the bead, but you have to learn really when to leave it alone. Like I could have kept messing with this, but I saw it was fine as it was. I wasn't going to do too much and try to perfect it. It looks good. So I'm going to move on to the next bead. I just showed you all my bead placement and kind of how I put the 2 beads directly across from the side points of this diamond shape. And once I stepped back and look at it, I kind of saw that this bead was too tiny and it just didn't really align with what I was going for, so I went ahead and took it off. Don't ever be afraid to just go ahead and take it off. Don't wait too long before you do it though. Don't wait till it dries all the way. Just go ahead and take it off. Start over. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. For my next bead, I know to make it a little bit larger though. Five petal flower. I want to have one right here, one right here, one right here. That's three, one right here, and then one right. So that was the format for the perfect 5 petal bead every time. So just practice that. You won't go wrong. So depending on the size of the beads, that determines the size of your flower. So if you want to use smaller beads, if you want to go for a smaller flower, use smaller beads. And if you want to go for a bigger flower, use bigger beads. And if you want to go for a medium-sized flower, use medium-sized beads. I consider this flower to be a medium-sized flower. I'm also not using my white 3D acrylic. I'm using Flamingo by Dynamic Nail Supply. I have that link down below. And this is a really smooth acrylic also. It's kind of easy to work with. It doesn't dry as fast. But remember, it's very easy to over manipulate. So once you get your shape, go ahead and leave it alone, girl. Now I'm going to go ahead and place my 2 beads at the bottom, and you're going to see how this comes together. And I kind of go at an angle. The beads don't have to be touching. They don't have to be like right beside each other. It kind of looks better when you leave just a tad bit of space. My flower came out very pretty, but I did want to add just a few, a little something something. So I added about 2 more petals, 3 more petals just on the side, and I added a rhinestone. Now notice how on my flowers, no petal is exactly right across from each other. Close, but nothing is really directly across from each other. And that was my biggest mistake. And I'm showing you all my small bead here. Like I said, a small bead will make a small flower. But yes, my big mistake was trying to get, I will put 1 bead at the top, and then I will put another bead directly across from that bead, and I will go from there. And if it wasn't a 6 petal flower, and a 6 petal flower just doesn't give like a 5 petal flower. I'm now going to use my Brown Addict from my Nail Addict collection. I'll have that link down below. These are great gel polishes, vegan and cruelty free. And I'm just going to add some branches because this kind of gave me like a little cherry blossom vibe. Moving on to my favorite nail, the most meticulous nail. I picked up a very small bead because these are going to be very small flowers. Now here you're going to really want to take your time. I do recommend go ahead and starting with larger beads, and then once you get the gist of that, move on to small petals, because small petals you really got to work it and take your time, but it's so worth it. It is so pretty. I didn't do too much denting here. Like you see, it's not much of a line. It's more of, I made it a little bit more flat, but that was exactly what I'm going for. So really map out the kind of petals you want to use and go from there. So for this particular nail, I decided to go with 4 petals, just because if I went and added a 5th petal right there, I would have been forcing it and it would have looked off. So it's better to leave it out than to try to, force her in there. And with tinier beads, you're going to want to use less monomer. So I just wanted to show you all how much monomer I actually wiped off on the side, because they're small beads. We don't want to have all these beads runny. So the smaller the beads, the less monomer you're going to want to use. So my method for these particular beads, you see how I kind of went in? I went ahead and dented it, but then I went ahead and flipped it to the side and flattened it a little. And I did this to kind of pan out my petal. And here I'm just stepping back and looking at my work and observing, and honestly, I'm super proud of this flower. I'm super proud of this nail. If y'all knew what I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all what my flowers used to look like, just in case anyone here is feeling discouraged. This was the first few times I ever even practiced 3D flowers, which is about 2-3 years ago. And guys, it's a journey. It is a learning process. You're not going to be perfect from the start, but once you put in that work and practice and consistently practice, you're going to get it. What you water will grow. It's important for me to keep showing y'all my progress because, like I said, a lot of people said I'm really just good because I'm an artist and I kind of did art my whole life. But same with art, it's step by step. It takes your patience, it takes your full attention. You have to give it your all. You have to practice consistently. You're not going to be perfect the first time. And that is the only thing that separates me from anyone else. That is it. So you don't have to be an artist to do this. You don't have to be anyone but who you are now. All it takes is for you to show up and sit down and practice. You don't have to be in the mood. You don't have to be inspired. You don't have to be anything but what you are in that moment, and just show up and keep showing up consistently, and that's the only way you'll see results. Very fun time practicing with you all today. Please show me your flowers, DM me on Instagram, and I'll see you all for my next video. Love you.